Thanks. Thank you very much. Sit down, your sandwich is getting cold. It's great to be here with you. Tony, thank you for that very kind introduction, and thank you for your support. I frankly am surprised that I was invited back, because last time I was asked to come and speak to you was at your Lincoln Day luncheon, and I couldn't make it. But my wife Nancy did, and everyone told me how much more they enjoyed her presence than my presence, and that I might not be invited back. But Nancy sends her best. She really appreciated the opportunity to speak with you at the Lincoln Day luncheon, and the gracious hospitality you showed her. She has hit the campaign trail, frankly, pretty hard herself, traveling up north today and working on this effort as we take this campaign and its message to all the people of Illinois. I'm sorry my time with you is going to be brief. We're still in session trying to solve the woes of the state's budget crisis, its economic performance, and other issues that are so important to the very future of our livelihoods, the livelihoods of our children and grandchildren, and the direct future of our state. Tony, you said the governor wants to borrow another $4 billion. Unfortunately, you've underestimated him once again. Just last week, the governor decided that the solution to Illinois' problems was not to cut spending. It was to increase the tax burden on families and businesses and to borrow $6 billion against the good faith and credit of the state of Illinois through bonds, and another $3 billion on the backs of our vendors and providers around this state. Just kicking the can down the road in a way that puts our very future at risk. To deal with the state's fiscal crisis and the problems we have in the state, I think we have to analyze what's been going on. Governor Quinn and his partner, running mate Rod Blagojevich, entered office 8 years ago. 8 years ago, our state had $10 billion in bonded indebtedness. It took those two just a short 30 days to double our state's bonded indebtedness beyond $20 billion. Now, realizing that in the confines of reality, Illinois is approximately 200 years old. 200 years it took us to establish $10 billion in bonded indebtedness. Governor Quinn and his running mate doubled that in 30 short days. If you think about the other problems that we're saddled with, in the last 8 years, Governor Quinn and his running mate Rod Blagojevich have increased the unfunded liability of our state's pension systems by over $40 billion to $75 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, the liabilities of the state of Illinois are horrific, and we need to share this information with our friends and our neighbors, Democrats and independents and Republicans around this state, so they can understand the real scope of the problem. Yes, the liabilities are horrific. When you add them all up, including the $6 billion in unpaid bills and the additional $4 billion in short-term pension obligations and the unfunded liabilities of our health care for our retirees, we're over $130 billion in debt. If you think about that on the backs of 13 million people, it's a horrific number. But in business, we can't just look at liabilities. Most of you know that my family is in the real estate business throughout central Illinois. We're pleased to build a few homes here in Sangamo County. Visit our Piper Glen subdivision or our North Point subdivision out in Mansion Road if you're looking for a new house. By the way, if you buy one through Friday, before Friday, you get a tax credit from the U.S. government. Just a little plug. Brady Homes is the name of that company if you didn't know. Help build the economy. But if you look at not just the liabilities, but you look at the assets, you can see the opportunity that we have. We are a state that is the richest of any state in this nation, in my estimation. From our agricultural base, which is based in our soil, our coal, our wind, and our oil. You go on to the infrastructure that we have right-of-ways for, rail, river, road, and air. You look at our colleges and our universities. You look at our healthcare institutions. You look at the corporate partners that we have in this state who have invested in the livelihoods and the value of Illinois. You look at the 13 million people, and you look at the fact that we're located in the economic center, not just of this nation, but this universe. You can see we can do so much better. But we have failed over the last 8 years to deliver for the people of Illinois. Why? Simple. Illinois has become too expensive of a place to live, work, and make a business investment. This election is going to give us an opportunity to define the differences. What I often say is if higher taxes, higher fees, more regulation, litigation, and deficits and debt worked, we'd be the #1 job-producing state in the nation, wouldn't we? But we aren't. In the last 12 months, we have lost over 250,000 jobs. You want to create revenues? You bring jobs to Illinois for Illinois families and revenues to the state. Over $1 billion in lost revenues to the state through just those 250,000 jobs. Over the last decade, we've become one of the largest net out-migration states in this nation. We've lost over 700,000 people to net out-migration and 700,000 jobs. You want to bring real revenues to the state of Illinois? You bring the jobs back. That's over $3 billion in revenues year in and year out. Our choice is simple. Do we want to continue kicking the can down the road, follow Governor Quinn's plan to raise revenues by increasing the tax rate, building a bigger, bloated, inefficient state government, or do we want to reduce the tax rate by $1 billion, eliminating the sales tax on gas, eliminating the estate tax penalty, create an environment where people live in Illinois, work in Illinois, and make a business in Illinois, bringing those jobs back? I think it's clear. And when I'm criticized by Governor Quinn for not having the courage to tell you we need to raise your taxes, I tell him, Governor, you need to listen to the people of Illinois. They're looking for a governor who has the courage to balance the budget without raising taxes. Now, this isn't a horrific number, by the way. Come on. This isn't a horrific number, by the way. Most of us in family and business have learned how to squeeze a dime out of every dollar by becoming more efficient, more effective, eliminating waste, abuse, and even fraud. That's what we have to do in the state of Illinois. We are the only area that I can find in this economy that hasn't deconstructed and reconstructed to meet these challenging times for the benefit of the people and not the career politicians. Ladies and gentlemen, we aren't broke. We don't have the $55 billion that Governor Quinn and Governor Blagojevich have spent. But we still have tens of billions of dollars, $47 to $48 billion that we can reinvest in infrastructure, in public safety, in health care, in education. Reinvest in our state so that we're doing what's needed for the people of Illinois, meeting our highest priorities, but living within our means. It's so important that we send the right message in this election. But balancing our budget, keeping and bringing jobs, and leveling the playing field isn't all we need to do. We have to focus on the future